Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. I hope you guys are having a great day. Let's continue to talk about Palantir Technologies because February 5th, the quarter four earnings are only 9 days away now. Less than 10 days, guys. There's going to be a lot of excitement, volatility, and also momentum that's going to be coming behind the expectations of what the reported earnings are going to be. Now, on top of that, in terms of next week, there are major blue chip stocks that are also going to be reporting their Q4 earnings. So we could see higher levels of volatility in the next week. But let's talk about Palantir's price zones, also see what analysts are predicting in terms of these earnings predictions, and also let's highlight and really justify talking about one of the biggest criticisms. So make sure you stay tuned. We got a lot to talk about. Now, of course, I'm not a financial advisor. If you're new to the channel, hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos, and I'm just collecting the data and dispatching it to you. Now, pop it up on the screen here. You see Palantir Technologies sits here, right here at the 16s, closing here at 1635 in the last trading session. Now, personally, I'm comfortable with this. A little bit of a pullback. This is being met with actually lower volume, only at 28.61 million on the volume. And as Palantir has these small pull-back days sitting here in the 16s at these smaller volume metrics, that is not a large concern to me, especially right here as we're gearing up for those quarter four earnings reports where there's going to be a lot more volatility, volume probably coming into the stock right here, building this foundation, a stronger consolidation level and a support basis at the 16s, I think is important to get on top and to test and reassume the $17 level of support, and of course possibly getting back here into the 20s. But PLTR sitting in the zone right here is kind of an accumulation phase right now for where we are looking at future price targets. And for some reason, if Palantir were to come back down, it does like to consolidate between the 13s and the 15s. And those are closer to a lot of fair value price targets from many analysts. So right now, just a little bit of a premium, PLTR is sitting at a juicy spot. Now, if we continue on here, just quickly looking at the options in terms of next week, you have a little bit of bullishness here into the mid 17s, 18s, and 19s for strike prices, but let's talk about the earnings that are setting to report and what Palantir is looking like behind the bar. Now, the list of the big companies that next week are going to be reported for actual earnings are Google, Microsoft, Meta Platforms, Amazon, and Apple. I told you guys, large Q4 earnings are set to be reported next week in terms of mega cap group of tech stocks in addition. And if we go down here to Palantir, earnings date is going to be happening just that next week at February 5th. Earnings per share growth estimate is predicted to be 75% year over year. And one of the big things that is expected to push Palantir to either meet or pass their earnings expectations are the AI-driven solutions that are expected to be a large sale or in driving force behind these future sales growth. And in addition to that, a boost from the soaring demand from its AIP platform that we talk about here, which is its generative AI data analytic platform. Now, also on top of this, we have the AI boom that is continuing. You've seen NVIDIA that has continued to pop. And as people are sitting on the sidelines saying, hey, when is Palantir going to get its NVIDIA moment? That could happen at any point once you do have that momentum that comes into the stock. And like I said, with the actual information that we have, revenue is forecast to increase about 18.6% from a year ago at that metric of 603 million. So as we continue on talking about Palantir and some of the other forces that we are seeing behind the actual expectations of what the stock is supposed to report, another bullish indicator that we've seen is the actual earnings per share revisions. And that's right here is at 16 revisions in the last 90 days, which means analysts keep setting the bar for what they expect Palantir to report. And this has happened historically in the previous quarters. Palantir has been able to either meet or beat those expectations in the last few quarters as they've really taken this quick and expedited jump to profitability. And of course, with that fourth quarter of GAAP profitability, we all know and talk about it all the time, they've now met the criteria for that S&P 500 inclusion. And with that, you have Palantir that's continuing to trade at these higher prices. One of the biggest criticisms that we have for PLTR is, of course, its price to sales ratio. And the reason why is because right now its price to sales ratio is at 16.9x compared to other stocks in the same software kind of industrial standard and sector. That is at 4.5x, and even a price of sales lower than 1.9x. So with that, how has Palantir Technologies been performing? Well, we do know one thing is that the strong recent performance has really been a strong justification for these investors to come in and buy Palantir at a premium price, as they are expecting these revenue metrics to continue and strong revenue performers to continue over the next years. We have to admit that the strong recent performance and that the actual ability that Palantir is able to grow its revenue by 113% in the last 3 years does give a reason, and we can see this reason here, why Palantir is continuing to trade at these high premiums. And as we continue talking about that, like I said, it's been growing revenue faster than other companies that are out there, and even other AI companies that are out there. So as investors do believe that the strong revenue and growth will continue, the final words is that the price to sales ratio shouldn't really be the defining factor on whether you buy a stock, and it's more actually a gauge of revenue expectations. So as we sit right now, a lot of people, Palantir is a very trendy stock, they show that the price to sales ratio, this remains high on the merits, and I agree with this right here from Simply Wall Street, on the merit of its future strong revenues. And at this stage, what we see right now is that the potential for a deterioration in revenues is quite remote. That people are not seeing or expecting any type of decline in Palantir's revenues coming soon. And Palantir has continued to support this theory with the earnings that they keep smashing. Now, of course, things can always turn. We'll see what happens, especially if Wall Street raises the bar too high for Palantir. But this is a reason that we're seeing the high price to sales ratio. And unless these conditions change, Palantir will probably always continue to trade at a higher price to sales compared to its industrial standard. But we've seen this with a lot of tech stocks across the board. And where Palantir sits at right now, like I said, I think is at a healthy zone, sitting at those 16s, low volume on the pullbacks. We got that resistance, physical and psychological resistance, at that $20 point. I think if there's a great quarter report, what we have here, especially with the hype and the uncertainty, the speculation that's going to be building in the next the next even few trading sessions that we have, Palantir could easily test in the bullish momentum that $20 level of resistance quickly again. Lose my mouth there. But just look what happened last quarter, Q3, going from 14 all the way to 21.85 in just a few short weeks. Lots of gear up here. Let me know, what do you think down in the actual discussion? I want to hear your comments. Do you think Palantir is justifiable to have those high premiums right now in terms of its price to sales ratio, and what the actual valuations are behind it compared to the revenue that's being brought in? And number two, do you think Palantir is going to smash their earnings report? Otherwise, I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.